Placement of a running subcuticular suture. The first step involves anchoring the suture. To do that, we're going to place a deep dermal suture near one apex of the wound, passing this in the usual fashion and tying it off in the usual fashion with approximately 4 or 5 throws. Next, we're going to cut off just the short end of the suture material right next to the knot. Then you're going to go ahead and take the needle, drive it underneath that knot in line with the wound, and exit right at the apex of the wound. Pull this all the way through, and you've got your suture anchored at the apex of the wound, and you are ready to begin running the subcuticular suture. The technique for running subcuticular suture is different than other sutures in that rather than going perpendicular to the wound, you're actually going to be taking your bites parallel to the wound. You want to try to get equal bites on either side of the wound. You'll start on one side, then traverse to the other side of the wound, backtracking slightly to the other side, about 1 to 2 millimeters. The purpose of this being to make sure you get good approximation of the two sides once you pull the sutures taut. It's also worthwhile to note that in this technique, you're going to be running along the epidermal-dermal junction and never piercing the skin surface. We'll go ahead and speed up. You're going to continue the same method all the way across to the end of the wound, where you'll exit at the wound apex. Now we're ready to finish the suture. You'll go ahead and backtrack one more time for an additional throw, again exiting at the apex. But this time, you're only going to pull that suture material partway through, thus creating a new loop of suture. Now we're going to demonstrate my favorite method of closure using the Aberdeen knot. Firstly, you're going to pull that free suture end through your loop and pull it tight to create a new loop. You're going to repeat the same process, pulling that free suture end through the loop to create a new loop. Next, you're going to place that needle driver through the center of your loop, and with it, you're going to grasp the needle on the free suture end. You'll pull that through the center of your loop tightly in order to lock your knot. The final step is you're going to take your needle and drive it underneath the knot all the way out the apex of the wound, about a centimeter beyond the apex of the wound. And you're going to pull that tight, which is going to flip your knot into the wound and bury it. Finally, you'll cut that suture right at the skin surface and it will retract below the skin surface, thus completing your subcuticular closure.